To new fans, you probably know Lamar Odom from his problems off the court. To the other NBA fans, you may know him as a high school legend out of New York City, and him being a walking double-double at Rhode Island. Him being drafted 4th in the '99 NBA draft, a first-team All-Rookie in his first year, but tenured with the Clippers and early stop to Miami didn't really see him put up to what the hype was about. Giving you about 16, 8, and 4 on shaky efficiency, and then not having a reliable jumper and motor. Odom just being one of the guys on the team who rode Kobe's coattails for those titles. That's not really what Odom was. What if I told you he was an offensive savant who was misunderstood because he played the game only few did at his time? But he wasn't a total negative at shooting the ball. And what if he actually should have been a multiple-time All-Star in the mid to late 2000s and early 2010s? Lamar was one of the very first specimens to the point forward archetype. He was listed at 6'10" but could handle the ball like a 6-foot guard. He could drive and finish with both hands, although he was highly reliant to his left. But back then, fewer players were ambidextrous, so this limitation in his scoring arsenal wasn't a negative to his scoring. Always at or above the league average in true shooting, and his ability to put the ball on the floor intact was impactful for multiple reasons. First, he was incredibly stronger than he looked and more agile. So agile that most of the players his size couldn't stay in front of him. This made him a matchup problem for the opposition. Along with being a mismatch, Odom was also an animal on the glass, hauling in about 8 boards a game and giving you 2 offensive boards with that. But it was after the board where his physicality came into play. With minimum spacing in the era Odom played in, it was more packed in the paint with 4s and 5s. So your touch around the rim and getting as much space as possible was a must, and Odom had that. Earlier in his career, Odom lacked a reactive handle. If you chested up his initial drive, he was immediately in a rush and didn't know how to counter. This became a negative on the rare occasion when there was someone who could match his size and speed. And if he did make it to the rim off of a counter or a blow-by on the perimeter, that left hand would be shut off by a big and lead into some questionable shots and passes with the right. As time went on and the trade sent Odom to LA, you could tell his game and mindset was grooming and being polished under that Lakers system. As you can see in this play, again the defender takes his left side away, but this time he counters with an in-control spin, finding the soft spot and getting an and-one finish. In addition to being a walking mismatch, Odom was adept in collapsing the defense. When Odom drove, he often gained attention and helped to more defenders, which led to open layups and shots for his team. Which brings us to his strongest skill, his passing. Being able to make any pass in the book, either operating out on the perimeter with a live dribble or in the post. He could dart kick-out passes to shooters or squeeze in passes in the interior like CP3 or Nash. To remember, late 2000s, early 2010 spacing wasn't that good. In the post, when he would face a double team, he could quickly read where the double team was coming from and make the decision from there. 2008 playoff game versus the Jazz, Odom got the ball in the post on the 6'7" Paul Millsap. To avoid giving up an easy shot, the Jazz decided to get clever by sending Matt Harpin to help over from the weak side, and Rodney Price being heavy help down low on the other side. But the creativity was for nothing, as Odom immediately realized that Luke Walton was opening on the cut and proceeded to dart the ball to him for an easy layup. While on the topic of post-ups, Odom's height was a major advantage and granted him access to a point only few perimeter players had seen. That view and height made him a great entry passer, which was needed in Phil Jackson's triangle offense. No matter what type of passing it was on point and accurate. And his lob pass to the big is Jokic-esque. In transition, he coasted gracefully down the court like a gazelle, able to initiate the break like magic. Also, he was an excellent outlet passer. Notice how quickly he's able to get that ball down to Kobe for a dunk. Do you see how quickly he's able to read the defense and time manage? This brings us to another feature in this game, and that is his IQ and decision making. Being able to read and react quickly and seeing defensive lapses in seconds, and taking advantage of those situations. And if he couldn't find any openings, he'll give the ball up instead of dribbling the air out of the ball, and move off the ball to try to get into something else. The 2006 game versus the Blazers, notice how the shot is up and Odom crashes, but when a teammate grabs the board, he immediately opens up the paint for space, then reads his teammate's drive and instantly cuts off it, and gets a great look from Luke Walton for the finish. All of his decisions are being made up on the fly, and what the defenses are giving him. playing the game of basketball with complete poise and conviction. His game had very little speed, but barely wasted movement. This made him a great off-the-ball player. He could hit connective dimes in his sleep, and he could perform give-and-go cuts to perfection. His ability to pass and cut and move made him a perfect fit in LA. Phil Jackson's triangle, even the excellent O's plays that require you to come off a screen and shoot. Odom had it. Even though his three-ball was shaky, it didn't matter. He gained a respectable midi, and it was his intangibles and IQ that kept him on the court. Which now takes us to the other side of the ball. Odom's defense and in these peak championship runs for the Lakers. His motor on that end and attention to detail was sharper, and looking at the games of this team, they switched a decent amount, when that was very rare to do. This made Odom switch on the guards and forwards on the perimeter where he held up his own, being 6'10" with a long wingspan and actually capable of sitting in a chair that was highly valued and needed. And also, he could hold his own when guarding in the post, and being a great helper and a team defender, always having active hands. Is a positive for the Lakers in defensive metrics, like box plus minus, being in the top 20 in the league in those championship runs. Here the Celtics run a high top pick and roll with Ray Allen as the ball handler, and Glenn Davis as the screener. Instantly, Odom switches with Sasha and picks up Allen, living with Glenn Davis at the top, and just focusing on forcing Ray Allen away. Odom was great at being the second help on double teams, that he was the go-to guy in this area for the Lakers. And like I said, having Odom as your designated double team guy was insanely impactful back then, because the larger part on how good you were on defense was how solid you were in defending in the post. And the Lakers in those championship runs were a good defense, ranking in the top 6 in defensive rating each year he was there. Length and verticality helped him on post and drives, making shots harder to get up. Lastly, his defensive rebounding, and just rebounding all around. His sneaky physicality and boxing out for himself for the board or the next man, or just getting easy tipping on the offensive end, and finding those spots to know where to be to grab the board. All in all, Odom was a championship level third option. It was key to those championships. He could be all 5 positions on the court in one possession, while plugging in with any set of teammates and remaining his value. One who was able to combine all of his on and off capabilities to fit right into that Kobe and Powell triangle. And as we look here, he wasn't always missing jumpers. In fact, thanks to the era being less 3-point heavy, he was pretty close to average at shooting the 3 while in LA. On top of that, his advanced bag enabled the Lakers to put more shooting around him and in that second unit. All this to say, while Odom only got a 6th man of the year, an all-rookie team during his hooping days, Lamar Odom played at an all-star level for the Los Angeles Lakers during their run.